is Tom. Welcome to this podcast. Today our guest is Nastya. Hello Nastya.
Hello.
Just to start, this podcast will be about happiness as a continuous flow of achievement. It basically means that we believe that if you look back at your past achievements, what did you do, what did you feel proud of, maybe not, then connected to a goal you want to go to, it's easier to avoid your roadblocks, your stumble blocks, right? And to make choices for the future. Mm-hmm. So the goal of today is to help you to set some strategic professional goals. Yeah. And basically we do it on recognizing past achievements and looking at future possible achievements. So that's basically what we're talking about today. Mm-hmm. It's all about to help you be more successful in a professional way. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't worry about what would happen too much in the past, or that you feel this I'm not so proud of. Everything is okay, because we're here today, right? And it's about the future. And I'm always saying, from falling you learn to stand up. So even I almost say the more mistakes you make, the more chances are that you will avoid those mistakes in the future and become even more successful. Okay, so don't hesitate to talk about mistakes as well,
okay.
Or what you perceive to feel as mistakes. Mm-hmm. I had the pleasure to see you quite a few times in our stretching class, where you gave fitness classes. I enjoyed it very much. I'm honest. I felt, it took like 1 or 2 lessons to fully trust you, but that was because of my shoulder injury. But then it developed, and I felt that you really went into helping me as a client, basically. Mm-hmm. So that was pleasant to see. Now tell a little bit more about yourself. Who are you? What's your background? And, why are we here today?
Of course, first of all, I would like to say that I'm really glad that you enjoyed our classes of stretching. And, basically, I'm enjoying giving classes of stretching, of dancing, and dancing itself, not only as a teacher, but also as a dancer, as an executor of some kind of arts. Mm-hmm. And this is not only the one background which I have. Basically, I'm 26 years old now, and I have a lawyer's degree, by the way, and I have some work experience in this sphere. I worked as a lawyer for the private companies and for the government also when I lived in Ukraine, in Kharkiv. But as we know, due to the war, I had to move to Spain, and I had 2 reasons to change my working experience here. First of them is that I didn't really enjoy my work as a lawyer. I understood that I could do it in a good level, but I didn't have a fulfillment of myself. I didn't really enjoy the process. It was like some kind of hard thing for me to work with the text, to work with the details, because I consider myself as more creative person than a thinker and a worker in office in some strict rules or something like this. So I decided that I would love to manage myself without any kind of executives above me. Right. Or something like this. Yeah. And the dancing before the war and before my trip to Spain was the huge part of my life. Like half of my life I was at work as a lawyer, and half of my life I spent in the gyms, working on my stretch skills, on my dance skills in different styles, which are considered to be modern ones for the young people. Okay. And I danced styles like high heels. It's when you're using the heels.
High heels, obviously.
Yeah, like high heels.
Okay.
I also studied twerk, and I studied street plastic, a lot of dance styles, and I participate with the competitions with my team. Not my own team, I was a member, but still. Right. So, and when I arrived here, I saw that people haven't ever seen the things which I danced before, because in Spain people dance in another manner. Right. So it's like I don't know, maybe it's a little bit about mentality or something like this, but they have different styles, different approach, how to teach it and how to learn it. And
Before we go today, because it's really interesting, and we definitely should come back. What I'm wondering is, why did you study law in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Well,
because if you knew all the time that you were more creative, I mean, then law is like, well, maybe in my vision, but quite the opposite, at least in the perspective of many people. Law is the opposite of creativity. So tell me why.
You're right, actually it's opposite, but the time when I had to give my documents to apply to some university, I didn't know at all what I want to do in my life, and that time in particular I didn't have no dance classes, nothing, so I forgot for a while about dancing. And I also had some kind of thoughts about like future. I need to have some serious job, I need to be like I need to have some security in my life. And I was just looking at my abilities. I could pass any of exam which I wanted because I was quite good in school and all of the subjects. But I didn't want to be like really some kind of a doctor, some kind of really specific profession is not for me. Like I don't know, physicists or I don't know, doctors. So I did the standard pack of subjects, and it was good for marketing or for rights, human rights. And the University of Law was the best one in my list. So, and I attended it. I entered with my score. So I decided to try to learn it
and to finish.
And moreover, I thought that in any case, it's useful for life, because when you can, I don't know how manage things, when you can understand these formulas, you can feel yourself more confident in life. In general.
Course, and you're prepared for anything that you encounter, because there are a lot of law-related things in normal life, right? So anyway, so it's good education. But you never felt after your first attempt to work for this government or in the companies to go back to that area, right?
Yeah, it was like frustrating a little bit, the process of work itself. It was like really overwhelming for me. I'm not this kind of person, but it took several of years to figure it out, to speak with myself and my own decisions, my own, I don't know, like dreams, desires.
To realize that you wanted to go that way. When did you stop working in your law capacity?
Well, actually, the decision to stop it came to me like a year ago.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I need to think about something else. But that time I didn't think about dance itself. I also had thoughts about graphic design. And basically that time I started to learn it in some online courses, and I'm still in the process of learning. And then just where I started, so I quit. Like it was like the big reason to cut it off, because I just didn't imagine how should I continue working.
Right, so it came together, right? The war was giving you the push, and you decided, okay, Why did you move to Spain?
Well, I have family here. Was the main reason to be here. But to be honest, I always felt like Spain has, I don't know how to explain it, the same character as me in some ways. Of course, not at all, but I love how people treat their lives itself, how they do their work, how they live in their own life every day. And this mentality is like something similar to mine. So if I didn't have family here, I would still choose this country.
Fair enough. Yeah, that helps a lot. You mentioned that you could never work for a boss or want to work independent. I don't recall the exact words, but you said it, right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, maybe it's because of my own experience. But when I worked for someone, I always need to do everything as another person wants, not my way. So you're really like restricted with some kind of rules, and you can't basically do like by yourself. You're being afraid of making some kind of mistakes, some kind of aggression, some kind of moods swings, and of course it depends on people. You can have like the great person as your boss, and this is, you're really lucky then. But for me, I know that I have my own vision of things, and I would like, well, at least I would like to try to manage myself for a while, because I know that it's hard from the beginning, but in the end you feel this fulfillment of your freedom.
Right. If you look at your past, what are the things you're particularly proud of?
Okay, I'm proud of the fact that I could manage my tasks even in my job as a lawyer. I did it in perfect way, because from all of my bosses, like previous bosses, I had like a really excellent feedback.
Reviews,
Like, so I'm a hard worker, I can organize things the best way I can. So I'm really like a giving person. If I'm starting to do something, I'm trying to do my best to achieve the goals which I have in this work. I'm proud that I'm quite like patient for the results in the matter of work, and at the same time in real life, like in personal life, I can be really had like huge impatience. Like, no, I don't have time to wait. But when it comes to work, I can be patient. I can work like day by day. So it's like constant.
Yeah, constant.
Yeah.
What interests me, if I ask you like in past achievements, you answer me with a process of who you are, right?
Yeah.
So is there something which you could say, okay, this is an achievement I had in the past and that makes me proud, instead of that you're saying, you know, I'm proud of myself in this process? They're two different things, right?
Yeah, okay, I understand now. So speaking of some kind of result, is that I'm proud that I finished my law degree. Like I did it.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't want to do it.
Even though your passion wasn't there, you still managed to do it.
I'm proud of, I had some winnings in dance competitions. Like I have some cups, I have some diplomas for, it was hard-working process and I achieved that. I wanted to win and I win this. I'm, well, let it go like as a result that I finished 2 projects as a graphic designer, even though I'm still studying. I have like 2 projects which I did in real life for real people to achieve their goals, and that I became a dance teacher here also. This is also
which is also quite an achievement actually, because it's not easy to find, you know, your place here in the market.
Yeah.
If you look at some numbers, some real, you know, things, how many times did you win a dance class compared to how many, or a dance competition? How many times did you participate?
I have like 3 the most important. One of them, it was like dance battle, when you just improvise things. You don't have anything like prepared in advance. And 2 of them are the cups like of prizes for team performance, which I prepared with my girls, with my team, and we did our best. And I like in numbers. So what else can I tell you?
How long ago was it? In years?
Like 2 of these were 1 year ago. Yeah. And one of these was 2 years ago.
Okay.
So it's not like so far away from this.
And if you see yourself dancing, do you see yourself more as a team player? Do you want to dance in a team, or do you feel more related to solo performance? How would you see that?
Well, right now I see myself as mostly as a teacher, because I would love to pass my knowledge to the people. By the way, speaking of numbers, about my dance experience, I had like I don't know, the great number of workshops, like special courses which I attended. I had some kind of list, and from the year, I don't know, 2018 until the present moment, I had, I suppose, well, I didn't count, but I felt that it could be like 100 of events. I visited 100 of events.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, because it's like, it could be like 3 of them during the month, like 4, 5, 6. It's like every weekend or something like this. So I tried to gain as much knowledge as I could. So I would like to pass this knowledge to another people, especially to the people who just starting doing this. They have a lot of fears, a lot of inconfidence or something like this. So let's speak that I see myself as like solo player.
Right.
For now.
Okay. Is this also based on your character that you prefer to work alone, or is it more like a logic conclusion of your history?
Maybe it's the first one, like which is my character. Sometimes, well, I saw a lot of times the phrase something like you should be like team player to gain success or something like this, but I see that I can do myself better if I will, like speaking of team, if I will work with the team, I will ask them to do as much as I do.
Right.
But I see that not everyone is ready to give as much as I give. So.
You mean if you would work in a team?
Yeah. So that I prefer to work by myself because I know my unlimited power. Like it's. Yeah.
Well, generally speaking, running your own business completely alone is usually very hard. And the reason for it is that you work so much into your own world that it becomes really difficult to look at yourself, right? And of course, you can have sessions like this when somebody just like a stranger talks to you, and that's one thing. But doing a company completely alone deserves some extra attention to prevent stumble blocks, which can happen. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. That even if you're a soloist, or even if you're quite introvert in your daily living, which then still you have to think how to combine your offering to the market in such a way that somebody or some other people or whatever are sort of influencing you as well. Because if it's just you and the client, it can be quite lonely, that's one. And the second is that it can also be that it's really hard to improve yourself. Because you're trying to help the clients without somebody saying, no, the strategic picture is like this, and this client can say something, which is great because it's usually important to make every client happy all the time, but still there's a strategic direction which would help you to choose. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to connect, like the big picture as we call it.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. Because you have this basis in law, which you don't use anymore, but you still have it, right?
Yeah.
Then there's this complete new country where you started by even explaining that things go a bit different in this country, even considering dance.
Yes.
Okay. So, what is your differentiation? How do you see yourself being different than other teachers?
Speaking of teaching, okay. Well, I prefer to distinct myself as a person who can. First of all, I have noticed that I have another type of movements which I never seen here, like in Spain at all. They just don't dance like this, so they don't know this movement. So I can give the people some kind of other manner of dancing at all.
Right.
The second one is that we are not only focusing just on movements, but we trying to train your own feeling during these movements. or your feeling of the music also, it's also crucial. So we're developing not only the skills to move your body or something like this, but also it's some kind of exercises for your mind, for your emotions, for your mental state as well. And even though we are speaking of stretching, which is like a part of my activity also because I love it, it's really useful for dancers, for normal people. What I distinct myself from others because I don't do it like a hard work, like 1, 2, 3, we should do it like by the end of this day, by the end of this week or something like this. I'm not pushing to the people. I'm trying to do it as with tenderness in their own rhythm, but trying to get their potential like out. So I'm trying to open them up, open up every person which I work with. Speaking of every kind of activity I do, and do it not with violence, but with some kind of inspiration. Something like this.
Yeah. I think it's incredibly strong, the direction you're moving into. We know this world is full of anxiety. You know, people are nervous. Yes. People, and you know, the higher the inflation, the more people are anxious. You know, we're not talking even about the issues in Eastern Europe, Ukraine, but we're also talking about things like climate change, inflation. People have a lot of anxieties, a lot of worries.
Yes, of course.
And I fully dig it when you explain that you can work with your anxieties and your worries by dancing or stretching.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get it. And I can even see that you, as a foreigner in this country, would have an added value. Because for some reason, people who are really anxious, right, feel they need guidance from somebody or some institution or some person who they believe that they are really capable of dealing with anxiety, right?
Yeah.
So your problems from the past, which came by this, partly by the background that you need to move away from law. That's also like a challenge. But at the same time, the problems which caused you to move here to Spain, this also gives you an added value. Because we all know that from falling, we learn to stand up. We don't even have to explain, we know it. And the moment you can reliably explain to other people that you know what anxiety is without even to explain further, because people believe you immediately, you have something. So I can believe that there are a lot of people out there who search for harmony in their body and in their mind, searches by moving in a rhythm or in the program, stretching, whatever you develop out of it, and then help these people to stabilize their words, so they come back after these classes and they feel, I let go of some stress. Yeah. That's cool. I don't know much about dancing, but what I would understand is that's completely different than people energizing into, I don't know, all kind of different dances to be, completely be worked up. So the question I suppose you still, need to figure out is there some kind of end goal you want to reach with your clients? Because when I asked you the goals before, you were saying, okay, I see myself as a teacher and I see myself as, okay, but what kind of clients and how do you see them after, your classes?
Okay, this is a good question. And I would love to have some kind of results when it's like at the moment of time when I can say that I have taught, 1,000 of girls and plus From the very beginners level, like from completely zero, like they never danced on high heels, for example. They never touched them, they never walk on them in real life or something like this. From the zero to the, at least, I don't know, let it be like amateur level. Amateur is when you quite when you seem to be quite experienced,
Right.
but you're still not pro. You're just like confident with your movements. You can study choreographies. You can enjoy yourself in real life and while you're dancing, because when you study dancing in particular, it affects your real life too, and it's like you become to be a new person. So. But speaking of the results, it's just I see how they, learn new choreographies, and I see this progress. I see some kind of movements they can do. So, but basically in numbers and results in dancing sphere, it's called like, I teach like 1,000 people, 2,000 people, I don't know. And I have like stable groups which are following me, like to the growth, because it's like endless process actually.
Right. But now you answer this question again the same way you answered it before.
Yeah.
I'm looking for what is your ideal client before they go to classes. So this is my focus group, right? And after my classes or after my treatment or how you call it, this is how they are. You see what I'm saying? So what is your target group? What is your profile of the most ideal client? Before and after your classes.
Okay, now I understand the question. Sorry if I was.
No, I'm fine, because it also tells us something, right? If you're, and it's great. You're very much focused on your process, right? But at the end of the day, it's about finding an exact client who's willing to pay and who is willing to go or is expected to go in a certain way that they feel really happy that they went with you.
Yeah,
that's what brings the business.
Yeah.
You know? They don't care if you do 1,000 others. No, they want a solution for their expectations.
Yeah, well, actually, this is a super great question, and I have this labyrinth in my mind, so I'm really glad that you asked me that, like specifically. So the portrait of my ideal client is like a person who is anxious about him or herself, I don't know, like whatever, who wants to learn something new but has some kind of fear, some kind of, uncomfortable feelings. And also it can be like shy in real life. Speaking of age, it can be like 16 plus, like 16, 50, like this maybe. Because my dancing requires some kind of physical like abilities and something like this, which are still ready to work hard, like hard enough to change themselves with my help. So I am going to help them, but I can do all of the work instead of them. It's about their decisions, their desires, and that's it. And the person who, barely can do some kind of movements like, lift one hand up, lift one leg up. But the person with the struggle so have it all like simultaneously, to combine it in one composition, all of the movements and like coordinate it well. And as a result of this work, the same person could be this person know all the basic movements really confident, and he or she can move confidently with music, feel like radiate some kind of confidence. I'm trying to explain it in some kind of objective way, but it's hard because it's mostly about emotions, about yourself introducing or something like this. So this person in the end of our way is more confident, more powerful in their body also, because it's like training still. And they are ready to learn some kind of new, maybe more complicated things, and they have like a vision.
It's
still abstract.
Well, first of all, I feel it. I can see it, and I also feel that you can be greatly successful in this. I've got actually no doubts at all.
Oh, thanks.
I wouldn't worry too much about age, because you were feeling that you had to answer, okay, what age group? I don't care.
Yeah.
Because some people at 16 they're mature enough to, they're 14 they're mature enough, and other people they're 60 and they can do still movements that somebody of 40 can't do. So don't worry about that, right? So it's not about age, but it's something else you're saying, which I think is starting to connect the dots. I think it's about fear. What if I would say that you could offer something like, classes to dance your fear away?
Oh wow, this is great.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, because if we look at twerking, what you said, or dancing on high heels, or pole dancing, or it doesn't matter, these things are, for some people, something, it's challenging, it can be scaring.
Yeah.
It's about fear and to overcome your fear. And you have all the papers to show potential clients that you know how to handle fear, right? We just discussed that, so that's great. But the broadness of your offering, from stretching till, the other dances we just discussed, is so wide. So how do you connect it together? So maybe, it's not so much about the dancing. Dancing is not the goal. The dancing is a tool to achieve something else.
Yeah, you're right.
And there's a catch. There's a risk, and the risk is that people don't feel related to what you're offering. So that's what we need to cover, right? I think there are answers to it, but it's something we have to see. Are there any other things which you feel are a roadblock or keeping you back right now? Before we continue to some kind of conclusion, maybe even, but is there something you feel, I'm running against something?
Roadblocks,
or something which is keeping you back in this thing you want to achieve?
Well, I thought about this, like, which stops me from, from growing up faster or something like this. Maybe is that I should really know more about my target audience, because I get used to work with people like approximately with at my age, but in general I don't care about age actually, but I just need to get used to somehow to understand the psychology of the people which are like the next another generation than me. And sometimes it's hard for me to understand their logic when they have some kind of their own blocks which I need to break during the sessions. And for me, it's like quite an obstacle, but I suppose it's mostly about the psychology and about the exercises which can help me to know their limits and abilities. Because if I don't know them, I can't offer them their level of dancing which they will enjoy. Still a little bit challenging, but not too hard. Not too hard, because if it will be too hard for some people, they will just quit. They won't stay with me. They won't be interested in my services, for example. The next one is that I'm not really aware of the organization process, of the dancing when you collecting people and do these things. So it's mostly about the managing and about maybe Googling things, or maybe having some experience from another colleagues. That's why I'm trying to network here and know as more people as I can, and maybe work with some studios and some collaborations to understand from the inside how it works when it takes to accounting, management, some kind of list of the people, some kind of payment, some kind of organization process, like warnings or something like this. So.
Yeah, but you know what? That you can solve. Because this is not Einstein technology. You have to find the right people to help you with maybe some accounting or taxes or all these daily things, I'd say, which are necessary when you're running your company. But you will figure that out. I have no doubts. There are people who know it, and there are this other group of entrepreneurs who went through this. So get in touch with them and you learn quickly. It's communication, you're right, so important. But the basis still comes to your initial clients and finding them, right?
Yes.
So I wouldn't really say it's a roadblock because it doesn't really block you in the sense, but it's more like you don't know yet how to do it. There's a difference, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So competition, is there much competition in this kind of approach or not?
Well, yeah, thanks for guiding me, by the way, in this matter, because speaking of blocks, sometimes I can, be blind to something. But when you're explaining me things like here and now, I can understand and process in my head that, for example, speaking of blocks, I have my own, I don't know, in confidence or something like this, like I'm not good enough to teach something because I see there are a lot of people who are like better than me in some kind of things. Like I can't do some, I don't know, tricks, acro tricks, for example, some kind of hard figures during the dance. And the block is also can be like psychological in my mind. And sometimes another one which can be like the obstacle in my work and like inviting people to my classes to my work and stay with me. It also can be my maybe sometimes like impatience and being too not like too strict with them. I'm just the person which tells things directly in the trainings, I'm not like going, oh sweetheart, please like get straight your leg. I'm just going to stretch your leg and that's it. But some people they feel it offensive or something like this, so I can't reach anyone's expectations but I'm afraid of it, sometimes I try too hard to reach everyone's expectation and like unfocus me, so I'm like don't have energy to continue.
But for that there's a real simple answer, Nastya. Let's just talk to them.
Okay.
If you would if you have a new client, right, or if they're considering becoming a client, sit down with them and talk and also explain your methodology. Explain, that you can be direct. And then quite quickly in that meeting there will be two things. First, you understand your client a little bit better.
Yeah.
And secondly, the client will understand that if you say stretch your leg, you don't mean it bad, but it's just part of this process to keep moving. So if it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. Just sit down with them one-to-one and just talk. Yeah. So that you shouldn't be worried about, I think. Yeah. You just do it.
Speaking of competitors, as you asked me, sorry for declining from the question. Well, right here in Spain, I'm not too afraid of some kind of competitors because I studied the market before going into it, before going and invite people to my classes, and I've noticed that, as I said, in Spain, teachers have completely different manner of dancing, right? And it's like visible, and I see that they even don't have like too many styles of dancing as we had in Ukraine. So speaking of this sphere, particularly of this sphere in Ukraine, in my opinion, it was more developed than here and now. So I feel like quite calm about this, and I also understand that I don't know, maybe in this universe all of the people have a chance to express themselves and to find someone who will like them. Yeah. And I just feel that I can give these people something they can't find from another tutors. Right. And it's also speaking of like my advantages, and of course I understand that some people can do other amazing things. That's why I'm planning to study also here in Spain some kind of new dance movements or new...
Yeah, but you know what, Nastya, two things. First of all, you need to double check if there's no competition, does it mean there's no demand? Or is there no competition in the sense that others don't fulfill this demand? That's one. Mm-hmm. The second thing is that, and I was coming back to that earlier, you said, some insecurities, is that, I don't know all the movements, or... Listen, you've been talking about stretching, twerking, high heels, pole dance, I don't know what. You cannot be the best in everything, it's impossible.
Yes.
But by the way, if you then see the big pictures we talked about, or connecting these dots we say, right? That's how we call it, the connecting the dots. And I connect the dots and I say, dance to overcome your fear. Then ask yourself, is it necessary that I know all the moves?
No.
No, not at all. It's not necessary at all, because the clients come then to you because they have some kind of fear, right? And maybe you would come to a moment, you say, listen, I want, the moment I don't give class, ask my clients to write down, use an app or whatever, to notify themselves on what fears do we have today, Usually I ask people to tell them their achievements. That's also what we do with Bligson. We ask positive experiences and turn them achievements. But if you earn your money on overcoming fear, you want to be sure that your clients know what fears they have and that you know them and how to deal with it, right?
Yeah, you're right.
When we had the stretching classes, my fear was my shoulder.
Yeah.
And it still is today. So it was not just about the stretching, it was about overcoming my fear.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And if that's what you're offering, then you shouldn't worry about 1 or 2 extra dances or moves or whatever. Of course, you need a portfolio. Of course, you offer, but you're already offering quite a wide set.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't develop yourself there. Always fine. When you feel you have to develop something, please do. But it will not be your roadblock. It will not be your inhibitor.
Okay.
Your inhibitor will then be is, first of all, you have to really embrace yourself in your offering. Say, listen, yes, dancing to overcome fear is my thing, so there should be doubts about it. And it takes time, you can't decide it, when sometimes you say, okay, this is it, but maybe you need a bit more time. That's fine, and maybe you come to something else completely, right? That you're just saying this. But the moment you found something, then there were 2 things. First, you will develop what you call the whole product. Everything needed for that particular goal. So if dancing to overcome your fear is your thing, your why, then you will know what all you have to offer, the whole product, to make that possible. And dancing is a part of it, but like an introduction talk with people is a very important part of it.
Of course.
You don't have to do it yourself, you can ask other people. I mean, there's this whole product which you're offering is not something that all's on your shoulder. Yeah. So maybe you need to team up with somebody who's more into psychology or more into talking or to whatever.
Some kind of marketing.
Well, that's your choice. Yeah. Think about it. That's the whole product. Yeah. Try to fill it. But you will notice that the dancing is no longer the problem. There are other things, and these you have to find. So this whole product, and then also the compelling reason to buy, in the sense that you will need to find like a very easy way so that other people can refer to you, right? So it's not just being able to tell these people what you offer, but they also should be able to tell the neighbor what you offer. And then suddenly marketing is so easy, because marketing becomes an easy word of mouth process. Yeah. And if you make your first clients happy and say, listen, Nastya with her classes really helped me to overcome my fear of my shoulder, or she really overcome, my nightmares about this or whatever, because I started to move and I started to express, really introvert people who want to go out, who don't want to express themselves. You suddenly learn to let them walk on high heels. Yeah. Girls who are uncertain about their appearances, the same thing. And suddenly they're there, How? Doesn't really matter. You have your methodology. But the moment you do it, they will express themselves and you have your marketing available. So don't worry too much about that, because that is an automatic result of your strategic positioning. Yeah. Because that's what we're talking about, is strategic positioning, right? Yeah. So, and I'd say the best, what's next? What are the steps? I can imagine that you just find, a first basic set of clients with prescribed fears, and then you'll know if you feel comfortable, truly comfortable of dealing with it. because you're right, there's a psychology aspect in it, right? And how to deal with that? Do you feel overwhelmed? Is it getting too much? How do you deal with that? You know, people start to cry in your classes. Now what? Right?
Right.
So it's not trivial. What you're doing is deep, but the beauty of it is that if you really can get this niche, your niche, it can be extremely rewarding, very profitable, because people pay for, their mental health.
Of course.
And it's about one of the most important things a human can have, so it's really valuable to them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, charlatans, in other words.
Yes.
These people who...
speculating.
Oh my God, it's so important then to differentiate yourself from all the average which happens in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And there you have to start to think really good, okay, how can I make sure that people who really see myself in this way, you're really young, and that's slightly a disadvantage for some group of people, because let's say if you're in your 60s, would you trust somebody of 26 to help you to overcome their fears? It's a question. So you have to think a bit deeper. If the end result is, for example, I help teenage girls, to become confident, then maybe, these parents, and a lot of parents who are like in the hell with these girls who are depressing and they're not beautiful and they're not, Instagram people are so much more beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And now you're helping these parents by helping their children.
Yes.
That might be like a niche market where you relate enough to the young girls because of your age that you can help them, and that when you tell them to overcome their fear, you still can talk to the parents about the process. So maybe, there is some kind of sub-niche there that can help you to position so that people really dig it, they believe you in your position, you see?
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of extra homework, I would say.
Yeah. I would love to say that, this thing about, knowing, specify the fears of your clients, specify their feelings. This is really useful thing, crucial one, which I really needed to hear from someone, because most of the time I do it some kind of unconsciously, because I feel like I know all of the process, I can explain it with a million of words, but the key thing is that I need to explain it in 2-3 words, in some kind of short sense, which I may pass from people to people to feel what exactly they will get. It's some kind of value, some kind of sense of the work. Yeah, because people paying for their mental health, so I need not just to give them something I can make you do, like dancing, but it's more about the mental part of it, about me, what am I doing with them in sense of their feelings.
Perfect.
And you really helped me to understand that, because most of all I thought about the process itself, as you said, but I really need to specify these goals, now I have them, this is the process and this is the categories, some kind of part of this process, some kind of senses.
I completely get it,
That's why I wanted to thank you for that, because I didn't have it before our conversation, because it was hard to catalogize or something like this, organize it in my head, but now it's more clear, and I'm really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I suppose, helping teenage girls to overcome their fears through dancing, I think a lot of parents will be happy to pay for it, And it's beautiful, because it's not the teenage girls who are paying for it, but it's their parents, and they have no money for these kind of things.
Yeah.
So, maybe something like that. But again, you have to go back. Don't jump on it immediately. Just go back and think about, okay, do I have everything to offer? What if I really stick with it? Would I feel that I'm missing something? Would I be nervous after 2 weeks? I'm missing something really important. Because it's about making choices.
Yeah.
Because you do one thing, you don't do the other. Now you have to think, okay, what will I no longer do? And does it feel like a loss? Oh my God, I really want it. Or say, fine, good that I don't have to do it anymore. Let me focus there.
I understand you.
It's not making a difference.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
The bigger reason for us behind achievement coaching is always the strategic goals. So I hope that you don't take it too much about the little things, but really about this is your strategic way forward. So the choices exactly, don't worry too much if you feel like in 2 or 3 weeks you do things completely different than we discussed. That's fine. But what I hope you can get out of it is at least the feeling that there's strategic choices you can make today, which make your life easier, from a career, professional perspective tomorrow.
Of
So
course.
that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
I suppose with this we come at the end of our podcast. If you like, don't forget to like and subscribe.